necessarily not mid-sized newspapers. Hi, I'm Mark E. Bilson, Tri-City Sports Now. Oh, I've got my criticisms of the Johnson City Press, but I will tell you that the Macon Telegraph does a pretty good job in their sports section. In fact, my next guest predecessor, Daniel Shirley, went to The Athletic and is now a big-time sports writer covering Atlanta sports with The Athletic. And if you go to the Macon Telegraph's website, you're going to find a lot of good information about the Bears. I certainly did. And that's why we're having right now Justin Baxley join us, ETSU, trying to win their first conference championship since 1969, a span of 37 seasons. There was a 12-year hiatus. To do so, well, they've got to win one more game than Wofford does from here on out. Mercer, though, has visions of a Southern Conference championship in their heads as well and making the FCS playoffs. Justin Baxley, I know this is their first time here with me, Marky Bilson, on Tri-City Sports Now, but it's a pleasure to have you. But I'm reading through your stuff, and my goodness here, Mercer comes in at 4-4. They've played well at times. They've played not so well at times, but they come into the ETSU game banged up, if I see this correctly. What kind of injuries is Mercer suffering from right now?
Well, Mark, I really do appreciate you having me on today. And there's a bevy of injuries all over the field for the Bears. We've got Caitlin Riley's got a high ankle sprain, according to Coach Robbie Lamb. And then T. Mitchell, who obviously just took over the career rushing record here at Mercer. He had a shoulder injury. Both of them are questionable for the game on Saturday. Now, with those injuries, they do have some pretty solid backup. Tyree Devison is the running back for Mercer. He's a big bowling ball.
Mm-hmm.
And he can run. He can still run well. But you always like to have that complement of speed and power. So it does make it a little harder with the being potentially out for that game. And then as far as the quarterback situation, Galen is actually just a backup quarterback this year. Mercer lost their starting quarterback, Robert Riddle, earlier this season to, I believe, a broken clavicle. And so he's been out for the last 3 or 4 games, probably potentially out for the season. But Kalen obviously was good last year. He was the Southern Conference offensive, rookie of the year, freshman of the year. And so he came back in and started again, but then he gets injured. The third string quarterback is actually Harrison Braun. And he's brand new to me. I actually don't think I've seen him play yet for Mercer. He played last weekend against Wofford on the last drive. I haven't seen him in person yet. And, his claim to fame, according to him, is that he backed up Justin Fields, the University of Georgia quarterback, for 4 years in high school. So, he did some things well last week at Wofford, making some good plays. Bobby Lamb feels pretty confident if they were to have to go with him on Saturday.
Well, I can tell you that arguably the greatest quarterback in ETSU history, Todd Wells, who was a 4-year starter in the late 90s, he actually was one time the backup at Forest Park to Hines Ward as a quarterback. However, Wells did see the field eventually. So in freshman year, he was the backup quarterback to Ward and all that. But no, that is kind of interesting because Frost never really played there at his high school in Kennesaw, Georgia. He was recruited. Is he on scholarship? I'm curious.
I believe so. I think he got to play a little bit. Justin got hurt a couple of times while he was in high school, if I remember correctly. So Harrison saw still some. Now, I've actually gone back and watched some of his high school tapes this past week, and he can really deliver a good ball. Throws a good ball. He's pretty mobile in the pocket, too. Again, against high school talent. But, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, they're all hotbeds for high school talent going into
that is something that I wanted to discuss. ETSU comes in with the best pass rush in the Southern Conference. You gave the number 28 sacks. Mercer has only 7 this year. And it comes at a time where I thought that Austin Herring, although we can talk about him leading with 2 long drives and only 6.5 minutes left in the football game, 2 long drives against Western Carolina to tie the Buccaneers 45-43 3-overtime victory against the Catamounts last week. You've got to look at this. Herring also threw 3 interceptions. Herring can be hot and cold. Can Mercer get enough pressure on Herring that he can be more the 3-interception quarterback instead of the captain comeback quarterback that Herring also has been over his career?
Well, I can tell you, watching Mercer play, they may not get the sacks, but they do get good pressure. So, a lot of times you may not be getting the quarterback down, but you are hurrying the passes. A couple of weeks ago, I got to watch Bradley Ernest, the defensive end for the Bears. He came from Miami of Ohio, if I'm not mistaken, as a transfer. And Ernest, he does a really good job of locking the quarterback down in terms of not letting him get out of the pocket to throw, or either get him on the run or force him to throw. The team struggled against Western Carolina to get Tyree Adams down, and the issue with that was they get him contained and then he could break containment. But in the second half of that game, Bradley Ernest did a really good job setting the edge and not allowing him to get out of the pocket as much. And then we saw a fumble and an interception by Adams in the second half of that game because of the pressure. Now, again, they weren't getting him down on the ground, but they were getting to him and forcing some pretty big mistakes. And if not for that, Western Carolina has a really good job winning that game if not for those turnovers. And then Ernest also stopped him short on 4th down late in that game as well.
So Bradley Ernest, the player to watch for Mercer on defense. We are talking to the Macon Telegraph's Justin Baxley here on Tri-City Sports Now. I'm Marky Bilson. He covers the Bears, who come in at 4-4. Are they talking SoCon title? Beat ETSU, who's in a tie. Yes, not with the tiebreakers, but they are in a tie for first place in the SoCon. And you've only got that one game to make up, and what happens if Wofford falls, that sort of thing. And it's a big 2-loss pack, so that the loss that Mercer suffered last week to Wofford, maybe that won't be so terrible for them. But does Mercer still have visions of making the playoffs, even though they are 4-4?
Yeah, so talking to Coach Lamb this week, he basically said we can only control what we can control. He's been in this league a long time. He was a quarterback at Furman. He coached at Furman. And he says he remembers the days where you had tri-champions with everybody having 2 losses. And so he still has, those visions that that's possible again this season. It's certainly possible. It's mathematically still there for them to have a shot at it. It's an uphill battle. So the team still very much believes that they can potentially win, a Southern Conference title, but also, possibly make the playoffs, maybe even as an at-large team. That road's a lot tougher with the loss to Wofford and the loss a few weeks ago to the Citadel.
I can tell you the reason why Randy Sanders, head coach at ETSU, would tell me why ETSU lost to Wofford. Well, I was 17-10, and by the way, Herring also inconsistent at the first part of the game, and ETSU was down 17-0. But then, yes, captain comeback, the man that engineered the 21-point comeback against Furman this year, and 18 points 2 years ago against Western, let alone last week. Then started bringing the Bucks back, and and there was a time where early in the third period, Wofford was punting to ETSU. Bucks weren't going to get good field position, but still, they were down only 17-10. Instead, roughing the kicker. From there, quick touchdown for Wofford. ETSU fumbled away the kickoff. Again, quick touchdown for Wofford. The game was over. All right? So that's what they'll tell you. We made our own mistakes against Wofford, and that's why we lost. That's why they'll say, why did Mercer lose 42-21 to the first-place Terriers?
Well, kind of talking to Coach Lamb, it was a lot of it had to do with injuries. They lost T on the sixth play. Sixth play of the game, and that's tough. I mean, you lose arguably your best player on offense on the sixth play, and they also, I mean, Taylor Riley becomes essentially hobbled the rest of the game with a high ankle sprain after like the seventh or eighth play. But you got arguably your two best offensive weapons outside of Marquise Irvin, the wide receiver, banged up early in the game. They fall behind early. I mean, you know, they finished the first quarter tied 0-0, but then they let Wofford score 21 in a row. And at that point, you're way behind. You've got a quarterback who's struggling with his footing. It becomes an uphill battle, and I don't think Mercer, especially with the way Wofford can run up the score quickly. I mean, they do score pretty quick. It created a tough atmosphere for them on the road to try to come back from down 21 early.
Sure.
If they had scored in the first half or kept it close, 14-7, something like that, they probably have a good chance the rest of the way. But, even over the last quarter, Mercer played bad. Tyree Dempsey started playing a little bit better, and Harrison Frost came in, who I think could move a little bit better without, him not having an injury. And he was able to hit Tucker Cannon for that 25-yard touchdown again. That's in garbage time when really the outcome was not even in question. But potentially, if Riley doesn't get hurt, E. Mitchell doesn't get hurt, maybe it's a different game, maybe a closer game. I don't know that those two injuries cost them the game, but it certainly dictated a different, game plan for the Bears.
Well, let me ask this. I mean, is Mercer going to be healthy enough to defeat a 7-2 team? Admittedly, a team that has struggled. I mean, 7 of their victories. I'm sorry, I'm so used to talking about losses with ETSU football before this year. But in 7 of ETSU's victories, they were trailing, including the teams like Mars Hill. Here's a team that lost the game by 56 points to, yes, Tennessee, but a bad Tennessee team. So, but still, is Mercer going to be healthy enough to beat ETSU? You're telling me potential long-time backup quarterback third stringer could start in Frost if the backup with a sprained ankle can't go. Are they going to be healthy enough to win this game?
I think that's the story of the game. The big thing going Mercer's way is they do get this game at home. I think that can be a potential evener out. I can't say to speak. They're a lot better team at home. The crowd at Five Star Stadium gets behind players. And, maybe
I got to ask you this question. It's not related to the football game, but I found it very intriguing that the Bears went up to New Haven, Connecticut, and played in the Yale Bowl, falling to, yes, the Elis, or Bulldogs if you prefer, 35-28. But how did that football game come about? Playing at New Haven. Is Yale going to come to Macon in a future season?
I haven't looked at the future schedule. Mercer's done a really great job of scheduling these games. They're fun for fans and fun for the players.
Yeah.
Last year they played Auburn and Alabama in the same season. And obviously that was, when they gave Auburn a pretty good run for their money. I think it was a one-score game in the fourth quarter, 17-10 with Auburn. Alabama was a different story. You got to see Tua up close and personal. And so they do a good job of scheduling these games. I mean, Mercer scheduled, I believe, Ole Miss in the future. They do a really good job of scheduling these fun games like Yale. I don't know if Yale will be coming to them in the future. I wouldn't be surprised if there's not something ready for them to go. I haven't, again, they're almost feels like every few weeks they're adding another really big game to a future schedule. Like I said, I think we've got Ole Miss here in the near future. I think that, again, that speaks to Mercer's program growing. They're doing a good job of getting these fun games for the fans to go out to. And for that game, it was particularly interesting. That was the first time a lot of their kids had ever been on a plane.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
I'm surprised about that.
There were a couple guys that were covering their faces. They were taking off. I mean, they were a little worried about having to be on a plane. But looking at it, the future schedule here for Mercer, they've got North Carolina in 2019, Vanderbilt in 2020, 2021 they have Alabama, then at Yale again in 2022, and Auburn in 2022. It does look like that Yale potentially is coming to Mercer in 2021.
Okay.
And then Yale would come back in 2023. So a home this year for Yale, and then away, home, and away schedule, and then they play Ole Miss in 2023.
So he's looking it up, yeah. You're looking it up. So I mean, obviously for Southern Conference teams playing FBS schools, that's going to be a necessity for the paycheck and so on. And it's the bold try, if you will. This year, Mercer took on Georgia Tech and played them to 35-10, for instance. But which is, by the way, for Mercer, a great game. I mean, that's going to create a buzz playing Georgia Tech, just like ETSU Tennessee did. And result maybe not so great for ETSU. Of course, in future years, ETSU will play at Appalachian State, Georgia, Vanderbilt, et cetera, et cetera. Next year, ETSU plays two FBS schools, Appalachian State and Vandy. So, that's what goes on. But, yeah, that was one of those interesting games right there. That was the one where I was like, yeah, that's neat right there. And the fact also that Yale won the football game, I think also speaks highly of the Ivy League football competition. And, is it just a matter of time before the Ivies, even if they don't have any scholarships, start playing in the FCS playoffs? Because I believe the Pioneer League schools are still eligible for the FCS playoffs. Might be a low bid, but still, something to play for, that sort of thing. Okay. With these defensive numbers, allowing 42 to Wofford, 46 to Western, 35 to the Elis, 38 to VMI, and 38 to the Citadel. I just don't see with that pass rush, Ernest or not, Bradley Ernest, that they're going to be able to stop anyone. But I will ask you this here, Mr. Baxley, who's going to win the ball game? Can Mercer cover the 4-point spread that they're favored by? Or do you think that ETSU wins their 8th game of the season, which would be the third highest total in the history of the program? What's your prediction right now?
If I had to go right now, I'd go with the Mercer has put themselves in a situation where they're playing in shootouts pretty much every week. I'm thinking somewhere in the 38-35 range. Mercer's a really good kicker, just like ETSU, and it could come down to both of those guys. Cole Fisher for Mercer, and then we have Bobby Lamb, who pointed out in his press conference this week that he was felt like was the best kicker in the country resided over at ETSU. So I think
Interesting.
Which kicker can nail the game winner.
I know German has had his share of praise, although I can remember plenty of misses that J.J. German has made. But you're telling me that they say best in the country, not just the SoCon?
Let me check here. I've got the thing pulled up. He says number one in the conference.
Okay.
15 of 18. Still wins the conference.
I was about to say, I remember a season, this was way back in the 80s, but George Simdavilla was the punter for ETSU, and you knew what kind of a season ETSU was coming off of when the punter was on the cover of all the publications, the media guides and such, Justin Baxley. They were coming off a winless year, as a matter of fact, but Simdavilla did go on to play in the Arena Football League for the Nashville Cats as a place kicker, obviously, as you would have to be in the Arena Football League. But I was wondering if perhaps, Bobby Lamb was saying that he thought that German could exceed those totals, and we might see him, I don't know, in the NFL or, say, the Alliance in future years. Okay. I got to tell you, I know, Justin, I'm thinking ETSU in this game. Especially, I like that 4-point number. But regardless, here, it's ETSU, it's Mercer ETSU trying for an 8-2 record, and they've only won 8 games in a season twice before, when they won 10 and 69 and 96. I got some ball news coming up, and then Sean Gregory, Time Magazine, is going to talk to us about could amateurism in college athletics be ending Tri-City Sports Now.